particular spring morning, one day before his departure for far more hostile territory, the South China Sea of all places, Hawke was full of keen anticipation. 450 very powerful horses that even now were stamping their hooves, waiting for him on the apron of bricks in the stable courtyards. The Snake, as his new steed was called, was a 1963 Shelby AC Cobra. It was an original, set up for racing by Carroll Shelby himself. With a highly modified 427 cubic inch engine putting out 450 horsepower, it was capable of achieving speeds nearly 180 miles per hour. It was painted in the famous Cobra racing livery, dark blue with two wide white stripes down the center line. It had been purchased by Hawke's man at the Barrett-Jackson auction in Scottsdale, Arizona, and flown to England, arriving by flatbed lorry late the previous afternoon. His primary mechanic, Ian Burns, a fine Irishman with hair and whiskers so blonde they were white, gave him a knowing grin. Forever known as Young Ian, the lad had been going over the Cobra all night, adjusting the timing, checking the plugs, points, and carbs, making sure all was in readiness for Hawke's maiden voyage into the surrounding countryside. "Quite the brute you've got yourself here now, my lord," young Ian said as Hawke approached the car, taking long strides across the mossy brick of the courtyard. "One can see why no one could lay a finger on Dan Gurney and the Old Snake at Le Mans back in '64. "You put a few miles on her this morning, did you, young Ian?" Hawke asked, smiling and running his hands over the sleek flanks of the beast. "I thought I heard a throaty roar wafting up through the woods earlier." "I did indeed. And? Still trembling with excitement, my lord. Can barely handle me socket wrench, sir." Hawke laughed and gazed at his prize. It was truly a magnificent piece of machinery, a fine addition to his growing but highly selective collection, stored behind the long line of stable doors, a long row that featured, among others, vintage Ferraris, Jags, and Aston Martins, a black 1956 Thunderbird convertible once owned by Ian Fleming, a spanking new white McLaren 50, and his cherished daily driver, a steel-gray 1954 Bentley Continental he fondly called the locomotive. "I did, sir. Topped off the petrol tank with avgas, which I highly recommend you use in the car, sir. Aviation fuel having much higher octane, obviously, and runs cleaner, sir. The Weber carbs needed a bit of finesse. Couple of belts and hoses needed replacing, but otherwise it's in perfect running order, sir, just as advertised." "Well, let's find out, shall we?" Hawke said, grinning from ear to ear. Hawke climbed behind the wood-rimmed wheel, adjusted the close-fitting racing seat for his 6-foot-plus frame, and strapped himself in, using the bright red, heavy-duty Simpson racing harness. Then he switched on the ignition. His glacial blue eyes widened at the instant roar, deafening, really, in the narrow confines of the stone-walled courtyard. "Bloody hell, Ian!" Hawke grinned, shouting over the thundering engine. "I do believe I feel the stirrings of one falling deeply and passionately in love." "As long as you don't scare the horses, my lord." Hawke laughed, a laugh of pure joy. "Anything at all I should know about?" "Just one thing, sir. A bit of a steering issue. She seems to want to pull to the right a wee bit. I'll take care of it as soon as you return. Not dangerous, really. I just wanted you to be aware of it and the twisty bits." "Well, thanks. Cheerio, then." Hawke engaged first, mashed the go pedal, popped the clutch, and smoked the squealing tires, fishtailing through the wide wrought-iron stable gates until he reached the paved drive, braked hard, and put the car into a four-wheel drift, a left-hander. He backed off the throttle for the length of the drive, slowing to a stop at the main gate to the estate. The gate was off a two-lane road that led to Chipping Campden, rarely used and certainly not at this ungodly hour. Burning rubber once more, he took a hard right out onto the road. He had a long straightaway shot in front of him, some miles of clear sailing before the road re-entered the forest. There was still a bit of ground fog, but it was blowing around a bit and he had a clear view of the road ahead. He upshifted into second and wound the revs up to redline. He was shoved hard back into his seat and the scenery became an instant blur. Ian had been right about the steering. The Cobra had an annoying habit of pulling to the